and a new move in California to legalize marijuana. Could the state's budget crisis be the spark that puts these pro-pot forces right in front of everyone's faces? We're approaching noon. The doctor is in right here on MSNBC. I'll see you in just a minute after this quick break.
We're marijuana consumers. Instead of being treated like criminals for using a substance safer than alcohol, we want to pay our fair share.
A new effort aimed at legalizing marijuana in California after decades of arguing that pot is safer than alcohol. The state budget crisis opens the door for what could be the biggest pro-pot victory in history. Believe it or not, legalizing marijuana is a hot-button issue still, and voters in California may be ready to turn up the heat even further. We'll take a look at whether California could become the first state in the nation to legalize pot for everyone.
Is that a joint, man? It looks like a quarter pounder, man.
With its budget going up in smoke, the state of California is now considering making marijuana possession legal, and not just for medical purposes. Today, a pro-pot group launched a statewide ad to get voters on board.
The governor and legislature are ignoring millions of Californians who want to pay taxes. We're marijuana consumers. Instead of being treated like criminals for using a substance safer than alcohol, we want to pay our fair share. Taxes from California's marijuana industry could pay the salaries of 20,000 teachers. Isn't it time?
The Golden State led the nation when it legalized medical marijuana back in 1996, and since then, 12 more states have followed, and several others could soon join in. But there is plenty of debate on this subject. Time now to make rounds. From Seattle, I'm joined by Dr. Gregory Carter, professor of rehabilitation medicine at the University of Washington School of Medicine. Dr. Carter was the first researcher to report on the effectiveness of marijuana in treating ALS, otherwise known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Dr. Hal Urschel is in Burbank. He is the author of Healing the Addicted Brain. And General Barry McCaffrey is with us from Detroit. General McCaffrey is an MSNBC military analyst and the former U.S. drug policy czar. Gentlemen, thanks all of you for joining me today. And Dr. Carter, I'd like to start with you. You believe, I understand, that there are some reasons where, with regard to medicine, marijuana can in fact play a role in treating people. Would you explain?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me explain that we now know exactly how cannabinoids, the active ingredients in marijuana, work. And in fact, we make our own internal versions of cannabinoids called endocannabinoids. They bind to very specific receptors in our brain and peripheral nervous system, and they control appetite, mood, muscle tone, pain, things of that nature, a bunch of other stuff, inflammation.
So what diseases would you then use pot for?
Well, I don't like to call it pot. The correct medical term is cannabis. Cannabis is very effective at treating chronic pain, muscle spasticity, anorexia associated with chemotherapy or other disorders. Some people would argue it's useful in treating some of the psychiatric illnesses. There's quite a big list. It's actually in the rheumatological world, too, showing some efficacy in diseases like rheumatoid arthritis.
So, Dr. Urschel, we know that patients who are on chemotherapy report that their nausea is down, they feel better. People with glaucoma, the pressure in their eyes go down with medicinal marijuana. So why the big fuss on your part?
Well, I think the medical use of cannabinol is probably a very effective substance. Problem is marijuana, the smoke in marijuana has 250 different substances. Only one of them is the THC or the cannabinol. We have a pill form of cannabinol. It's much safer than marijuana. The actual marijuana smoke is 4 to 6 times more carcinogenic than your regular cigarettes. So it doesn't make any sense to me that you'd use marijuana as opposed to the oral cannabinol to be able to get the same effects that Dr. Carter was discussing.
Do you take issue with the fact that in the ad, it's marijuana is said to be more, or should I say, safer than alcohol?
I don't agree with that at all. Again, I just said it's 4 to 6 times more carcinogenic than your normal cigarette, and it's a gateway drug.
I'd like to comment on that.
It is an addicting drug. It has euphoria. It has tolerance. It has withdrawal, and legalizing marijuana is you're just going to get a lot more marijuana addicts, which will cost the state a lot more money than if they just used it.
General McCaffrey, let me jump to you for a second, because you sort of spearheaded a crackdown. When I was a physician in California, we were all very cognizant of the fact that the federal government it was taking a strong position against medicinal marijuana. Your views now, as a leading person, the face, I should say, of the war on drugs, and now as someone, as a private citizen, the success, your thoughts about this, is it ill-timed, is it ill thought out?
Well, first of all, Nancy, let me correct you. I wasn't the leading face of the war on drugs.
Oh, I think you were the face. I think you were the face. Absolutely, you were the face.
Let me disagree. No,
I think you were absolutely the face.
Are you going to let me talk now, or are you going
yes,
to
you can go ahead and talk, but I'll
conversation?
tell you, I still think you're the face.
Yeah. Well,
a good face, but you're a face.
Let me explain categorically now, Nancy.
Yes.
Let me get this point
General.
in. That we talked about a cancer affecting American society. We talked about prevention and education. We talked about reducing adolescent use of gateway drugs, which includes alcohol, marijuana, and ecstasy. We said if you want to prevent the numbers of 15 million chronic addicts in America, then you got to concentrate on young people. So that was really the argument I made. Now, when it comes to medicinal marijuana, which is sort of a misnomer, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Institute of Health, the Institute of Medicine, all have categorically concluded that smoked pot is not and is unlikely to ever be a form of medication. It's got, as the doctor explained earlier, some 400 actually different compounds. It's administered in a very carcinogenic form. That's not where we're going. Marinol has been available since 1985 as a pharmaceutical drug approved for physician use. So going forward, if the scientific community wants to put $200 to $400 million into developing other cannabinoid drugs, then I would be personally supportive of it. But smoked pot, it's a misnomer. It's a stalking horse for the legalization of pot.
Dr. Carter, we do treat so many cancers that are caused by smoking cigarettes, and there's no way you can say that inhaling any kind of smoke is good for your body. And yet I've heard cancer patients say that the THC in Marinol that General McCaffrey just alluded to doesn't work as well as smoking. So is there any science on either side?
There's a lot of science. First of all, Marinol, which is available by a Schedule III DEA prescription, meaning I could phone it in, is 100% pure THC. So
does it work?
Even the strongest. No, it does not work, because, as actually the general referred to, the cornucopia of cannabinoids all work in concert, and there's very good science to show that the other cannabinoids have strong therapeutic effects.
So, Dr. Urschel,
and they modulate the effect of THC.
Dr.
Now,
Urschel, if it doesn't work, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you can vapor. I never recommend my patients smoke anything. I either recommend oral ingestion or the use of a vaporizer, which vaporizes the active ingredients at about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and you inhale a hot mist.
Dr. Urschel, any problem with that?
Well, again, I think we're talking about, if we're looking at marijuana, marijuana is a very dangerous substance. It's carcinogenic. It is a drug that can be addicted. If look at cigarettes. If we know all the detrimental effects of cigarettes now, would we legalize them? I don't think we would. So why do we want to take the step when we know all the scientific data about how marijuana negatively impacts the body and the brain? Why would we want to do that rather than looking for a better delivery system for the Marinol? Just like Dr. Carter said, let's not use marijuana. Let's use a different delivery system for the THC so the cancer patients and the AIDS patients can get the relief of their symptoms.
So do you think the science and the medicine and the money... Go ahead. I want to know if the science and the money will be there, either from the federal government or from scientific bodies. If we're sort of agreeing that there is a substance out there, but the delivery system is broken in marijuana smoke, then will we move forward to help the patients who, frankly, can get some benefit from this?
Vaporizers are available right now. You can
focus.
General McCaffrey, what were you saying?
Vaporizers are available now.
Well, you know, I think one of the things you got to look at is what's happening in California, where, you know, the great funny story is that there's more pot selling in San Francisco than our Starbucks stores. If there's any argument for developing more cannabinoid drugs, then we ought to let the Food and Drug Administration move it forward. Physicians should be unlimited in their appropriate use of pharmaceutical compounds. But what we don't want to do is normalize the use of smoked pot. It's a huge cause of the clinical admission of adolescents all over this country, the acute psychosis reaction. It is addictive. It is more powerful by far than when the baby boomers were smoking a few joints in college. This is a huge mistake to normalize the use of smoked pot.
Well, there's no doubt that
the
pot today is different than the pot before, but boy, patients sort of seem to be clamoring for some kind of help. This is a conversation that won't go away, and perhaps the FDA, if they're regulating cigarettes, will consider regulating medicinal marijuana and maybe even pot. We'll bring that up and look forward to having all three of you back again. Dr. Hal Urschel, Dr. Gregory Carter, and General Barry McCaffrey, thanks for being with us.